It's the Breaking Access podcast. We break things down to the very last compound. My name is Sumit, aka the potty mouth of the South.
And my name is Chris Mitchell, aka the actual factual.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. On? Everything is fine over here, man. Like, it's fine in my house. It's not fine in the world, but it's good in my house. I'm wearing a hoodie that my sister made for me, actually. So
nice.
Yeah, shout out to my sister. You can't see the logo in it, but like, it's long in it. But
what's the logo?
It's actually it says on the front, her king. So she got me and my wife.
Nice.
His and hers hoodies.
That's quite fire, actually. I like that idea. I like
brown
that
and
idea.
Brown and that.
Is it like an independent? Is it like your sister does it as like hobby, or is it like independent business? Can people go find out about it more?
Yeah, I mean, she hasn't got her thing up and running, but I will say this publicly: my sister is the most talented person in my family. Like, it's nuts. Anything she puts her hands to, baking, cooking. She can make clothes. She does video editing, like back in the day, she used to do like DVD packaging. She used to do the menus on the screen and all of that, like all self-taught as well. Shout out to my sister, Sarah.
Yeah, but I think we need to get your sister on the podcast rather than you on the podcast. Maybe we just replace you. Because to be fair, like, I'm not the most talented person in my family either. It's my brother, or one of my brothers anyway. I'm not. I'm a fake, innit? I'm a fake. I'm a fraud.
Now, don't say that.
I'm a fraud, bruv. But it's true. Like you're saying about your sister's the more talented one in my family. I'm not the most talented one in the family.
No, I mean, it's important that she gets her props in it because, you know, sometimes, not sometimes, but often, I don't feel women really get their props in the business world. And I think I'm
in the creative world. I'm
just amazed, bro, because I just sit here baffled sometimes. Like, how did you learn to do that? Because no one taught you, yo.
Sometimes it runs in the family. You're a talented brother too, you know. Like,
yeah, I'm all right, man. I'm all right in it. I'm all right in that. I was in the studio yesterday. Still, I made a banger, bro.
I put up your song. I put the feature, the feature you did, and that it was
Shout
good,
out
man.
to Dogs. Yeah, I wrote that. Yeah. I wrote that song on the way to the studio.
Yeah, you know, Ain't No Jigger put that up too, right?
Don't lie.
Yeah, man. On their stories.
Shut up.
Come on, what do you think? I'm out here, man.
That's boom. Shout out to Ain't No Jigger. Because that's actually pretty cool. Because on the second verse, I said, to all my people, is it too late to come together? There's too much black and too much love, still equal forever.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I wrote that because I was, you know.
Yeah, you were channeling the goat in it. Bro.
Like, you heard the song "Pay It Forward" that I did, man.
I know.
Come on, man.
I don't think, because we obviously, me and Ain't No Jigger are Tidal users.
Mm-hmm.
So we threw up on from Tidal up on there, get the streams up and that, you know, pay the artists and that. But no, I love that, and I told it. I just like the story from Ain't No Jigger. I respect it. They're
I need to see that.
Of ours.
You
won't see it now because it's gone. It's 24 hours.
Screenshot next time, innit?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
But yeah, like the streams are doing really well. I'm flattered. Thank you to everyone who listened to my new single, Love Will Take Me Higher. I haven't released new music in a very, very long time, so it's really cool that people are still rocking. Thank you.
It'll be good. You've got an active and waiting audience at Breaking Atoms. So
come on.
I think it's going to be good times when you start releasing music more regularly. The album, all of that stuff. I think it's gonna be great. So people like Jigger supporting it helps.
Mm-hmm.
So we certainly appreciate it. So speaking of support and community, innit, we're here today, innit?
It's exactly.
Let's talk about it, innit?
Yes. So
let's talk about it.
We are barely 24 hours removed, and I want to preface this by saying I'm going to be led in this conversation by yourself because I feel that this is a situation that you unfortunately have had way too much exposure and experience of. It's an unfortunate thing that's happened, and to our listeners, the reason why we want to touch on this, let's get into the situation first. So there's a YouTuber, amateur boxer, rapper, entertainer by the name of KSI. He's one of the most popular and well-regarded influencers, YouTubers in the world. I met some school kids about a year ago, and gone are the days when people want to be doctors and lawyers. When they leave school, they want to be YouTubers and they want to be entertainers. And KSI's name comes extremely high in that regard. So he's definitely influential to a very young and impressionable generation of people. Fresh off his appearance at WrestleMania on Saturday night, you know, he's riding high. in the trending topics, and people are talking about him. The following day, there was a video with the Sidemen, which he's been featured on their platform numerous times.
He's a founder of it.
There we go. I wasn't outside with this, and there was a countdown parody game show type thing going on, and he used a very, very offensive word, which is historically been used and directed towards the South Asian community. It's a word that I do not repeat. It's not in my vocabulary, but it's spelled, and I'm only saying this so people can understand, it's spelled P-A-K-I, and it's a derogatory term that is used at people from the South Asian community. And I grew up hearing that word a lot. I went to a primary school where I had a black head teacher, and I want to thank Mr. Bent from early. He sat us down and said that word never comes out your mouth. We don't say that here. I grew up in a very diverse community where there were a lot of South Asian people. So being around South Asian people, we're friends here. And I think it's just really important that we address it, because it's good to sit around and talk about rap all day, but sometimes it gets deeper than rap. It really is deeper than rap, and it's good to talk about things that we enjoy and whatnot, but there's just times when it gets real. And I saw what was going on and I thought, what do I say? And I said, what sometimes the best thing to do is to pass the mic, and I wanted you to essentially speak about how you feel, your individual response, the community's response to this. And I really want to double down and say to our international audience, you might be listening to this thinking, what is the big deal? I've never heard this word. It's not, it's not serious. I've traveled, I've been fortunate enough to travel, and I've gone to places and I've heard words and I've heard slurs, and I've thought to myself, what does that mean? I've never heard it. And I think it's really important that some slurs, unfortunately, can be geographically specific. You go to certain places down south in America, you will hear some of the most creative racism you've ever heard in your life. So I really want our international audience to get with the program and understand what it is we're doing today. My brother Sumit is part of the South Asian community. He's grown up in a community that's very, very diverse. And I know he feels very strongly about it from a personal perspective. And when he starts talking, we must listen. So I'm going to pass the mic to Sumit. How are you feeling today, my man?
I'm good. I appreciate that. I think it's important to say that discrimination of any kind, at any form, it's not to be played with. It's is the almost the word for word line I sent to Atlantic Records, who KSI is signed to. Discrimination at any level is not to be played with, and I stand by that. And I get vocal about some things, and I don't get vocal about other things. Some things I do in private, and some things I get vocal about in public and what have you. But when it comes to oppression, discrimination, racism, I just don't play that at any level whatsoever, whether it's privately, publicly. And I do things in order to mobilize myself, my people, and offer support wherever I can. I think with regards to this particular incident, I'll talk more about the word, the meaning, where it comes from, the pain of it, and all of those things. I'll speak for myself. I won't speak for the community, because other people may feel from the community that it's okay, it's fine, it's not a big deal, blah, 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 whereas others will feel differently. So I'll speak from my point of view, and then also talk about some actionable things that we've done. I say we, there's some people that I won't blow up all their business, but this is just kind of how we roll when things like this happen. So my response is disappointment, there was anger, there was frustration, and there's a number of things. And the reason, and I'm saying this off the top, I haven't made no notes, and me and Chris haven't spoken about this, we haven't done pre-production call or anything like that. We're just talking here. I think the disappointment lies in the fact that so many people felt within that. Because I've seen a lot of people talk about, oh, why didn't they edit out? Well, no, it's good they didn't edit out, because we wouldn't have seen that. And it would have just been behind closed doors, something that's happened to a lot of marginalized communities for many, many decades and hundreds of years across the world, but in this country for many, many decades. No, it's good it was out so we could see it. But it's disappointing to see the diverse communities within that video laughing and accepting, that word to be uttered and think it was okay. That's the disappointing part. The vex bit is that no one did anything about it, and it feels like and I've spoken to you about this. We spoke about this actually not so long ago, not on an episode, but the voices of Southeast Asian people not being taken seriously enough or heard enough. I've made a joke in the last couple of episodes about I'm just an Asian, I don't know hip hop. And that stems from that. Our voices don't mean nothing because people view us or perceive us to however they want to perceive us. My opinion is they may perceive us as weak, not a problem. And so it feels that it's justified. I also think that over the last 25, 30 years, I mean, ever since 9/11 happened, I think the normalization of racism towards Southeast Asians has just grown exponentially. Even when there was the terrorist attacks in London, again, the same thing. And it's just, again, that's where the vexation and disappointment lies. I think that, KSI has come out and said he apologizes, and we'll get to that. But he was talking about him not being a role model. The thing I have a problem with his apology, the hallow apology that he's put out, as well as the Sidemen have put out, is it's just one of those things. I'm really sorry, we're taking a break. It's gaslighting. Don't look up to me. This man is 30 years old. I'm 38 years old. There's no place for anything like that. And also the other thing to point out is people in that video have been Chunks, for example, has been part of other videos aimed at Southeast Asian communities where they've taken the piss out of them. So that's a second strike, essentially. For some of them, maybe the first, but it's a second. They knew what they were doing. We're in a world where content, clicks, all those things are important, but it just feels like for a lot of Southeast Asians that I'm reading online, the people I speak about are just like, that's a pure violation. We're not having that. But I guess for some people, it's more like, we're still at this conjuncture. We're still here where this word, the Paki word, just gets uttered and it's okay. This is where we're at still. Come on, man. And I think it depends on who you speak to, but I think it's a mix of just like, you guys, this is disappointing. And there's a mix of like, okay, you think we're weak. And I think a comedian, a very good one, but at that, Guz Khan, I think he's intimating that, like, don't think that we're soft out here, because Southeast Asian communities aren't. We choose what we want to do, but it's okay. It's fine. But I think the most important thing that I want to take out of all of this, and it's something that I've said to numerous other YouTubers and people in football or whoever I know, is that this is a time where communities have to come together. Communities, whether you're Black, Asian, Southeast Asian, wherever you're from, community is about the shared experiences that we have. It isn't about just one particular community. We have, within our own communities, other communities, but we as a community have to stick together, and we have to show a united front when it comes to things like this. Me, I'm more of the, all right, cool, I'm going to speak to Atlantic Records, I'm going to go to JD Sports, I'm going to go to BPI, I'm going to go to the people. I was involved in the diversity charter that the BPI released through another organization. I was there when they did that out in the Houses of Parliament. I was there. That was important. It wasn't just about representation for Southeast Asians. It's about representation for Black people, for all kind of communities. Any marginalized community, there should be that. You came to those meetings. I used to take Rishi Rich to those meetings, a legend in the Asian community. This is something that we want to do to progress things forward. We've got to a place where this guy, big man, thinks that it's okay to say those things and just go, oh, I'm taking a break now. The shocking thing is that people I know in his camp that have helped him get money, managers, all these things, are Asian. So I think there has to be a conversation about, okay, so have you had that kind of conversation with them? I'm sure that will happen, but it is what it is. I'll talk a bit about, and by the way, interject at any point, because I could just go on forever.
No. There's a time to talk and there's a time to listen. Please go ahead. There's a bit around wrapping up around this KSI thing. As soon as I saw it, and one of the beautiful things about the internet, as toxic it can be, and I've said to you, I've said in this podcast before, that I'm off Twitter and I dip in and out, and I'm glad I was there yesterday, because the minute I put it on social, and this is what I'm grateful for the work and the connections and the people that I have. When I saw it, I also put it on my Instagram. And my guy Shizio, love him to absolute death. And the reason why I mention it is I'll mention another incident that has reared its ugly head since this happened, and it's to do with Wiley, and it's a different conversation. But shout out to Shizio, who said, what?
send the video. And I sent the video, and he went, pure violation. And the thing about Shiz is he knows exactly the people in that camp better than I do. I have a distant relationship. I don't have a direct relationship. He can pick up the phone and people will listen, and I love him for that. So I sent the video. He saw what I wrote. I mean, I guess there was some disbelief in this thing. He was like, nah, we're not having any of that. He made the call. I wake up this morning, KSI's made an apology, and I'm not going to blow up everything about what Shizio did and whatnot, but he made it understood that this is not a game we play. Apologies been made, and the people within KSI's camp have to understand the gravity of that. And I'll talk about the gravity of the thing. I want to just have a side step about the Wiley thing, for example. The reason why it reminds me of Wiley is maybe about 10, I can't remember now, 10, 12 years ago. Anyway, Wiley was trolling on Twitter, and he got into it with some Southeast Asians on Twitter, and he was saying stuff like, I'll knock your turban off. You're a Sikh, I'll drop you, I'll drop you in a Muslim neighborhood so they can beat you up. All these things. He was making these terms, right? And he called it ethnic banter. And then the Asian Music Awards, because, sometimes our people don't know how to stick together, decided they wanted to give Wiley a platform to come to their award show. I called Shiz, and I said, Shiz, I'm pissed. And he said, here's the number. Called them, and I said to these people, I'll have 200 people outside your award show tomorrow. You may want to think about these things, because we don't play these games. This is not to play with. Ethnic banter is not to be played with. It doesn't matter who it is. It's not to be played with. So they reneged, and then Bobby Friction on the BBC Age Network had him, and I was mad at Bobby for that. But cool. But what we did with Shiz is we did the music thing. Shiz and Wiley go a long, long way back. We did the music thing. Me and a person I won't name because I don't want to blow up his spot. We sat in Wagamamas, and we convinced Shiz to do a diss track. Gave him the beat. This is what you got to do it. The beat, the diss track went viral a little bit, and it got traction. And then there was some static, and there was some beef. And I'm saying to the listeners now, and to you as well, Chris. Do you remember a few weeks ago, Chris, off the air, I talked to you about Skepta and Chipmunk and how I got infinite respect for Chipmunk, but Skepta was a bit shaky. Around that time, we ran into those guys at Radio 1, and it was at the time the diss song had come out. There was some tension between Wiley and Shiz, but that got sorted out because they had a conversation and they know what time it is with Shiz. Shiz is different gravy. So we saw them, and it was a temperature check. Shiz had a video. The video's online. We said, and Skepta had the worst energy possible because he wanted to back his man, Wiley. No problem. Thankfully, at that point, I had a relationship with Chipmunk where I was like, I was cool. He knew who I was. We were cool, and he was all right. He was blessed. But Skepta wanted to maintain that energy when it was like, yo, man, this guy is just coming for us for no reason. There's no such thing as ethnic banter, bro. There's no such thing. Anyway, that got deaded. But this reminds me of that, where it just feels like every so often people can come out of their mouth to feel like they can say these things. And if it's Tommy Robinson or any of these people to come out and say it, and they think it's okay, just because I think, and this is my personal opinion, there is no real voice in the Southeast Asian community at high levels that can do something. And that's some of the things that I would love to see and I would like to contribute in changing. There is no voice to go, hey man, no, we don't have that. It can happen in other communities, and it's good it happens in other communities. And those people will stand up for us, and we can stand up for them. But at some point, in this country anyway, there is none. And I know, there's going to be a lot of things going in my head, right? A lot of people talk about, you got a Southeast Asian British Prime Minister. No, they're not ours, bro. The rhetoric in which the government, this Tory government, is speaking towards immigration and things like that is abhorrent, right?
Agreed.
It simply is. And I think having this thing of going, we have these people in power, don't mean nothing for the people on the ground. And at the end of the day, KSI will understand. People like that will understand that you can't go out and say those words. And now I'll get onto a little bit about the word itself. So the word Paki comes very much, it really stems from Paki bashing, which used to happen in the 70s and 80s and a little bit in the 90s too, where Enoch Powell was a MP who gave a speech called, which is famously known in the UK as the Rivers of Blood speech, where he was essentially saying that the country, UK, would run the river of blood that will flow through the UK will be immigrant and not British and not white. And from that stemmed Paki bashing. And a number of people have been assaulted and killed as a result of Paki bashing. I grew up in a place where Blair Peach, a guy who's 33 years old at an anti-racism demonstration, was murdered by racist people. You know, Tasleen Akhtar, 11 years old, murdered by a 16-year-old for being a quote-unquote Paki. Tahir Akram, 14 years old, murdered in Oldham when he was going to post a letter for his dad. We in the UK, we get London bubble. There are things that happen outside of London in places like Oldham, in Rochdale, in Manchester, in Liverpool, and all these things. Do you see what I'm saying? 15-year-olds like almost getting run down because a car mounted a pavement because Paki bashing. It was a real thing. I had to grow up fighting NF. It was a real thing.
NF is, for those who don't know, is National Front.
Yeah, National Front. It's a very extreme nationalist. We believe everything to be white and we hate everyone else rather. And Paki bashing just related. I mean, Paki bashing was about, you know, Southeast Asians, but that wasn't limited to Southeast Asians. It was anyone
with brown skin. Yeah.
Anyone with the complexion that was darker than yours, I'm going for you. That means elderly folk. That means young kids. People lost their lives to it. We just don't play with that. I think sometimes we often forget, in all the communities, we often sometimes forget our history. And it's up to us as people who are growing older to pass that down, to understand that there are things that are just not to be said, not to be touched with, and education. Education leads to communication, and we can understand. But from the apologies that we get from the Sidemen or any of those guys, there's nothing about no education. It's just like, we apologize, we're sorry, we'll do better. No, we don't do that. We're not doing that. And I don't want to get into the kind of game of, but what if you said this word? What if you said that word? No. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. The fact is, this shouldn't be played with, and they played with it. And I think nothing's going to happen. But that's the plight of the Southeast Asian voice. Nothing will happen. It's not so bad. It's not as bad as that. It's not as bad as that. And that's the trap that we fall into as marginalized communities and ethnic minorities, is we end up fighting each other over the severity of the word, as opposed to going, that don't play. As a kid, I was walking on anti-racism marches, we used to call them, they were called anti-Nazi marches, not anti-racism, anti-Nazi marches. I was walking with all colors, creed, doesn't matter who you are. Anti-Nazi in what, 1990s? That's mad. That is absolutely mad. So, there's a lot of emotions here. I think just like there's also, then I'm not surprised, and but I think people should really understand that there are some really crazy Asians out here who are not to be played with. I'm not one of them. I'm just a civilian. But it's silly. It's stupid. It's cheap points. It's not even comedy. It's none of the above. And I think the point is being made by myself and for KSI and for people like that. But I've not seen any other apology as we're recording. I ain't seen no other apology from anyone else in that video thinking that it was funny. And they all knew. They all know. It doesn't matter. They can't hide behind ignorance. They knew. Everyone knew. And that's fine. And it is what it is. But it's sponsor time now. It's time to go to the sponsors and see the temperature check. Do you really believe in anti-racism? Do you really believe in anti-discrimination? Or is it when it's flavor of the month that you care about it? But if that's the case, that's cool. Let it be known. But yeah, man, for me, Southeast Asians will feel like me, like, we got no voice, bro. We just got Asian Network. That's it, innit? And it's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah, bro, I'm 100% behind that. And I hope, not to center myself, but I hope my silence wasn't taken as a lack of concern. I just feel like it's important for you to speak, and not everything needs a reaction. Sometimes it's good to listen. You really touched on that, and I really want our listeners to to go away and read up on the history of that word. Sumit mentioned the names of some people who have lost their lives behind that word, right? A couple of years ago, actually, I learned about, and forgive me if I've got the name wrong, Altab Ali.
Yeah.
That weren't that long ago.
No.
That weren't that long ago. Altab Ali was a man who was killed in East London. You know, the P word bashing thing that Sumit has mentioned, you know, he was a victim. He was a victim of that. He was just going to go vote, cast his council vote. He was just going about his business, and he was attacked, and he was killed. So I really need our listeners. It's so important, like our international listeners, please understand what it is we are trying to say. And Sumit mentioned education before I pass the mic back. It's really important that we live in this information age, that you go out and you seek information. I would say directly to KSI, because he's part of my community, and I think sometimes we have to speak directly to each other in it. No subliminals. It's important that you go and educate yourself, bro. You're obviously not a stupid man. You are a shrewd businessman, and it's important you go out and read information. Look, if you ever hear this, read some of those names. Go and speak to people. What I find with a lot of younger people and this whole find your tribe thing that's going on is that you're around people who think like you. Go and speak to some older people. Go and ask questions. Go and speak to your people in your community and some of the things that they've gone through. And I think it's just really important that you do that education. Pick up some books. We'll put some resources in the episode notes. But really, really educate yourself, man. Like seriously, this information ain't too hard to find. It's not hard to find. And I'm convinced in 2023, if you don't know it, you just don't want to know it, and it's fine. Say so.
That's right. I mean, I talked about some stuff that happened in the 70s and 80s, and I mean, April? I would say maybe a month and a half ago, there were two incidences, one in Birmingham, one in Ealing, of two elderly Muslim men coming back from mosque, and racists tried to set them alight.
I read about
fire.
One
was severely burned.
That's why it's really important when people think these things happen in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Nope, it's 2023, yo.
It still happens. This is elderly men on their way back during Ramadan. Like, it's Ramadan, man. Just let people focus on their spirituality. You know what I'm saying? Like, Asian folk in general are a peaceful folk. We just want some dal, we want some roti,
bro,
some rice.
I'm not laughing. Don't make me laugh, please.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not every, like, if you study, because a lot of the Southeast Asian backgrounds are rooted in their religion. If you look at all of their religions, every single one of them is rooted in peace, love, and just let's just chill. Let's have some fun and relax. Sometimes that gets mistaken for that kindness, that generosity gets sometimes mistaken for weakness. And I think, we just want to have fun, man. We just want to chill and live our life. We understand life is short. These become trivial things, but they shouldn't be trivialized. People going to the mosque and getting attacked. Look at what's happened in South Carolina, where that man sat with those churchgoers before he killed them all.
Dylan Roof. Mm-hmm. I don't even really want to say his name, but
you know what I'm saying? Like,
just to add
but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's there is a constant. We live in fear for these things. I used to make sure that my grandma used to get on the bus where she wanted to go and make sure I met her there when she got back, just so that she didn't have to encounter that kind of rape. This is not that long ago. Yeah. This is real to all of us. So it's just sad, disappointing, frustrating, all the above. For me, I'm gonna be contacting sponsors and people at these companies and go, cool, man, let's have a conversation. If you don't have processes in place, what processes do you have in place? I have asked Atlantic Records, what processes do you have in place? I know this didn't happen in a record, but you represent him. He represents you.
Can I share something with you?
Go on.
As someone who has done anti-racism training, I actually resigned last week, but I'll share why off the mic. It's long, bro. A lot of people are posturing and faking the funk out here, like they really care about these things. When they don't, they only care when it affects the money. Unfortunately, and I'm not trying to deflect
Yeah.
I speak to myself a lot. And you know what I said to myself? And this is going to sound really uncomfortable, but I'm being honest. I miss the days of George Floyd. Where people, for just a moment in time, people have moved on. People have moved on, bro.
Because at that time, that's when my kid was in the hospital.
Yeah, I remember.
When it happened. So my money and I used my money and my connections to go in the right way for that. To kind of go, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
How can I be an ally? What can I do to support? What can I learn? There's some things I know, but where can I put my money that's just sitting in my bank account right now to help people, to ensure that they get bailed out? They don't have to worry about this. Like, they can just, do what they need. Like, what can we do?
Yeah.
And
practical things.
I've never really ever spoken about that. I've never really spoken about some of the other stuff that I've done. I just do it. Just do.
I don't want to say this to put people off, and things need to be done, and you need to contact people, and I get that. I would say to you, and I'd say to everyone, is to harness the power of your pound.
Yeah, exactly.
Hit them in the pockets, bro.
And that's. I mean, nothing will happen of it. But when I have these conversations with these sponsors, these people that represent them, and go, "You're okay with this? Okay, so we've got it down on the email that you're okay with this, no problem. So we can revisit that for another time."
Mm-hmm.
But also, when you do contact them, when you do ask the questions and they don't respond, they have an obligation to respond, because it has to do with race and racism, and there's particular laws that are set in place and particular processes set in place. And I know what labels or sponsors are going to do. It was in the Sidemen show. It doesn't matter. It's not our thing. But that's not the case. Because I've seen people from that label be very vocal about things that didn't happen in that building. So you got to keep the same energy. Say it with your chest, Kevin Hart. Say it with your chest. It's okay if you're doing it behind the scenes. That's cool too. And that's why I don't call anyone out, because it's like, hey man, they might be doing something that I am not aware of. And so I don't want to do that. But say it with your chest. Keep that energy. And it's a shame. And I know what happened. It'll blow over, and there'll be someone else, and it is what it is. But I know a lot of guys are coming for the Southeast Asian youth in the video. Yeah, I see that. It's all of them, not one of them, all of them, every single one of them. Even the Caucasian brother who said, if you can explain to me it's a real word, then I'll give you the points. Yeah, mate. People died over that. It's a real word, bruv.
It's a very real word.
So,
and I want to say to people before I pass the mic over to you to close, is that people, please, for the love of God, understand the power of the words that come out your mouth. Please stop going by vibes and feelings all the time. Wherever possible, stop, think some more about the words you say. The Bible says, I'm sorry I'm turning into Pastor TV Jakes. The Bible says that life and death is in the power of the tongue. Please be careful what you say. There are people out there. We are from communities where we've seen this firsthand. People have lost their lives behind words. Things that they probably didn't mean. They said in jest, tried to take back, and they couldn't. Please, the power of your words. Respect it, harness it, and use it for good.
Yeah, well said. Listen, I won't keep everyone too much longer now, because I feel like I've spoken enough. But I do want to say Ryuichi Sakamoto, rest in peace. For anyone who is not aware, especially in the b-boy scene in particular, techno, pioneer, composer. We are a hip hop show. We don't just talk about rap music. When we talk about pioneers of people who, any breaker or any b-boy or b-girl who were starting out in the early days of hip hop will absolutely reference this individual, this giant who really influenced the culture and in a big way from everything he's done. So rest in peace, and thoughts and prayers to the family. So
for sure.
Yeah, man, I did want to say that just so we don't miss that. But look, we out here. We've all got a part to play. You've all got a part to play. Play your part. Not everyone is, needs to be front line. Some people can be back line. Find your place, find your value, and see what you can do. But there is no place for discrimination whatsoever at any level. You just need to root that shit out, man. When you come for one of us, you come for all of us. That's the problem, you see. When you come for one of us, you are coming for all of us. We do not accept that. We do not tolerate that. So that's what I'll say. But you can follow us on Breaking Atoms, Break the Atoms. Chris's handle is I'm Kinetic. Mine's is Hip Hop Chronicle. Hit me up. I'm happy to have a conversation anytime. But live your life. Be blessed. Peace.
Peace.